tiny event that's happening December 18th, as we are referring to it as Doomsday. That is right. Avengers Doomsday and Dune Chapter 3, Part 3, Dune 3.
Messiah.
Coming out, right? No, definitely not. I don't think they're going to do that. But
I don't think they're doing that.
No, that book was interesting to say the least. But it is coming out on the same day. And we're wondering, is this chicken race? Is someone going to flinch and maybe move the date? Most likely Dune 3. And it doesn't seem like that, especially now that we're getting information that Avengers Doomsday will not release in IMAX, and that actually Dune 3 has locked in the screens for at least the first 3 weeks. That's right. This comes to us from Times Entertainment. They say, hold on one second. They say, the biggest clash on Hollywood stage between Avengers Doomsday and Dune Part 3 is slated for December 18th. However, don't expect this high-stakes box office clash to play out on IMAX screens. The upcoming battle that Robert Downey Jr. and Timothée Chalamet have already nicknamed Doomsday will reportedly have limited reach, as according to Empire City Box Office, Dune Part 3 has secured exclusive access to IMAX theaters. The film, directed by Denis Villeneuve, has reportedly locked its release window for 3 consecutive weeks, leaving no premium format screens available for Avengers during its opening run. Notably, the sci-fi epic had locked in December 18th as its release date first. Prior to picking its December release, Doomsday was initially slated for a May 1st, 2026 release. However, the makers decided to push back the release by 7 months and opted for a December 18th, 2026 release, while also postponing Avengers Secret Wars from May 7, 2027 to December 17th, 2027. So as the report says, this is said to be one of the key reasons why Warner Brothers had no plans to move Dune Part 3, despite Marvel's biggest superhero property, the Avengers, landing on the same day. So I want to ask you, Zach, what do you think about Avengers Doomsday not being on the IMAX screen for the first 3 weeks of its opening run? And do you think that IMAX made the right decision? Because as we know, these contracts are locked in a year, years, months in advance. So there's probably not much wiggle room they really could have done when Avengers Doomsday switched. Do you think that, one, are they kicking themselves? And two, is it not a big deal? They're going to be in there in 3 weeks anyways.
Well, I mean, first of all, I got to address that Downey and Chalamet are trying to steal Doomsday. They don't get to do that. They don't coin that phrase. They don't take that from us, the fans.
They try to act like they created it.
Oh, we're brilliant. They're just on Twitter like the rest of us. They're just famous, so they get to say they coined it. Yes. So as far as the whole IMAX situation goes, this has been a big topic. Like you kind of mentioned, Doomsday was set to come out like before Spider-Man Brand New Day, and Dune always had plans to lock in the December date before Doomsday even moved. So contracts are signed, negotiations are way ahead of time with IMAX. So Dune got there first, and just because Doomsday moves doesn't mean they get to move up into the front of the line. Yep. So that makes total sense to me. You know, as far as will this hurt Doomsday, I really don't think so. First of all, I'll acknowledge I don't have an IMAX where I live. So I've actually never been in an IMAX. I have never experienced IMAX. I'll just put that out there.
What's your equivalent to IMAX?
Equivalent, but not really, is we have, in my theater anyways, an AVX Ultra, which is not IMAX. For a long time, people kept calling it IMAX, and I had to not educate my friends, but just kind of be like, we're not actually going to see it in IMAX. It's got superior sound and a slightly larger screen than the rest of the auditoriums, but it is in no way. When I showed them pictures of what IMAX really was, they were blown away. But that's besides the point. I think when it comes to financially, I don't think this is going to hurt Doomsday very much, because while Dune does get all the IMAX screens, and that is going to be a big event for a lot of fans of Dune,
Right.
when you look at like Sinners, which we'll be talking about later on in this podcast, there are times where, at least in the States, the stories I hear, you'd have to book your tickets like 2 weeks in advance to go see an IMAX screening of Sinners, to the point that they actually re-released Sinners back into IMAX, and it was still this big cultural phenomenon event. But Sinners overall, it made 386 million worldwide. Like, it just about got to 400 million, right? And it like dominated IMAX, and it was a big IMAX event. But just because it was on IMAX, it didn't get it to like $1 billion or anything like that. And people were consistently going to the IMAX screens to watch Sinners. So I do think this is great for Dune, because I believe Dune is actually shot in IMAX. I don't believe Doomsday is. And with Denis Villeneuve, those Dune movies, they just have the scope and the size, the world that they bring to life in those films. Like, they require the IMAX experience, where I feel like Doomsday, while it would be awesome to see in IMAX, it doesn't need IMAX. So I do think that Dune is going to benefit by, like, on its own being in IMAX, but I don't think it's going to take away much from Doomsday, the fact that Doomsday isn't in IMAX, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And I mean, same to Kevin's point, like you said, IMAX screens didn't help Wicked for Good, Superman, Jurassic Park Rebirth. I don't think it's like a stickler for people when it comes to these big blockbuster movies. Of course, you want to see it on the biggest screen possible, but I don't think it stops people from going to these big movies just because it's not on IMAX. And as we know, with a lot of these bigger Avengers Marvel type movies, people go several times. Like, for me, I saw Infinity War like 3 times. I saw Endgame like at least 3 times. And so it's only for 3 weeks that Dune will completely own the IMAX screens. After those 3 weeks, we most likely will see Avengers Doomsday on the bigger screen on IMAX. And so I think by then, their hope is that word of mouth will be good over the 3 weeks. People will be going. They'll go a second time, they'll go a third time, or they'll go one time and then they'll be like, oh, it's in IMAX now? I'm going again. And maybe it'll get another boost within that 3 week, after that 3 week period. So I don't necessarily think that it will hurt the movie by any means. This is Avengers, let's keep in mind. And then let's see, Zach says Avengers needs to move. A movie like that makes most of its money on IMAX screens. Yeah, I mean,
I disagree with that. I gotta say, I'm going to disagree with that.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes most of its money on IMAX screens. I think it definitely is incentivizes the people, because people want to see these big blockbusters on the biggest screen possible. And right now, that is IMAX. They are the definitive big screen that people look forward to going to. So in those regards, yes, like, are some people going to be rubbed the wrong way because they're like, well, I want the biggest screen. Where's the IMAX showings? 3 weeks, like, they're not even going to really know that. They're just going to be like, okay, like, I'll go to Regal RPX. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't think it's going to be a stickler for them not going and just waiting, but it definitely might rub some hardcore movie theater going fans the wrong way, just because that's what they want and that's what they're accustomed to when these big Marvel movies come out. Now, I want to get your opinion on the other thing that I said. Do you think that IMAX is maybe kicking themselves a little bit because they were locked in to Dune 3, at least for those 3 initial weeks? Or do you think they know, like, Dune 3 is going to be huge, so they're just like, more money for us, it doesn't really matter?
Yeah, I don't think that it really matters to IMAX, because IMAX it's not like they are the majority of the auditoriums, right? Like they have so many screenings of IMAX. And Dune, it's more niche of a sci-fi fantasy film. Like people in the chat, people like you and me, we really, or I'll speak for myself, I really like Dune. I loved Dune Part 2, but like there's very little people that I associate with in real life that also like Dune. A lot of them turned off the first film in the first 10 minutes. They could, my wife did not get into, she did not like Dune, but she teared up with me with that Chris Evans teaser for Doomsday. So again, I can only speak from where I live, and having no IMAXs around, at least in my town. Like I'm not speaking for all of Canada. Canada has IMAX.
And that's a good
my
point
town.
too. There is some people that have zero.
No one's losing sleep over the fact that Doomsday isn't an IMAX. What Doomsday has is it's got the 4 quadrants. It's got the fan. Like you're gonna have hardcore Dune fans going and selling out those IMAX screens. Like those IMAX screens are gonna get sold out just fine. IMAX is gonna be fine. Doomsday, you're gonna have kids from the ages of 8 to 80 going to see Doomsday over and over and over again. A majority of people do not care. Most people, I will say, do not care what screen they see it on, just that they go to the theater and they get to see it.
Yeah, no, that is a good point. That is a good point. And I do want you to keep in mind that Dune, as soon to be trilogy, has grown movie to movie. If we look at the last box office, I mean 714 million worldwide is not something to bat your eyes at. So
absolutely not.
It has grown. It has gotten prestige when it comes to awards. And so now that we are at the conclusion, at least, of this trilogy, people are hungry for what the finality of this prestige sci-fi trilogy looks like. So I do think it is going to have pretty big numbers. And we're talking about at least around the 800, ballpark, which is a lot for, you don't think so?
Well, here's the thing. I think I'm not taking anything away from Dune. That is a phenomenal achievement, and we can't really even compare that to Dune Part 1 because that was a day-and-day release during the pandemic. So those box office numbers for how big the first Dune could have been, we really don't know the answer to that. So we can really only compare to Dune Part 2, which did grow because Dune is a very popular franchise. It's got a very dedicated fan base, and I can only speak to what I've heard because I've not read Dune. We are possibly rolling into the weakest part of the story from what I've been told.
It's Denis.
So there is a possibility.
I know. I totally agree. And that's why I made that jab about the Messiah part. Like leave that out.
But look at what Wicked for Good did. Again, I'm someone who was not a big fan of Wicked for Good. And that is the weakest part of the musical. Yeah, exactly. And John M. Chu is a great director, but he was working with source material that was already kind of weak to the fans, right? So Denis Villeneuve, world-class director, phenomenal, but he may be working with source material that doesn't live up to how he is as a director. We'll find out when the movie comes out because he's a fantastic director. He could make it work. But Wicked for Good's a good example of, great director, but didn't make the source material any better or make it work. In my opinion, I know people like Wicked.
No. It was the general consensus, and I totally agree. And to Zach's point, these are bigger names now, right? Like Florence Pugh has a bigger role in it. Robert Pattinson is in it. And then if and when and we're gonna get to it, Timothée Chalamet wins the Oscar. Now they will be in the credits, Oscar-winning actor Timothée Chalamet. So there will be some more firepower behind this movie leading into the third one. So that's definitely a good point. So we'll see.
On a side note, why aren't we calling this Pew's Day? Florence Pugh is in Doomsday and Dune. We should be calling this Pew's Day. Not Doomsday. This is all about Florence Pugh.
Sounds like Pubes Day, though, a little bit.
Pubes.
I don't know if they're going to do that.
That's a good point. Not as marketable.
Zach says, I don't know if John M. Chu is a great director. I would say
I don't know, man.
I would say that right now his track record is very solid. Is he a great director?
Yeah.
I can't say he's a great director. Is he on his way to establishing himself as a great director? 100%. And where is Crazy Rich Asians 2? That's all I want to know.
I know, right? Like, I'm not comparing. I'm not taking anything away from John M. Chu by not comparing him to Denis. Like, he's not Denis Villeneuve. He's not Christopher
definitely
Nolan.
Not.
But
no.
But you can't take away with, like, again, Crazy Rich Asians, like you mentioned, good film. Yeah. But you can't take away from what he did with Wicked Part 1. Even if Wicked for Good let me down, he really did immaculate work in Wicked Part 1. Like, the production, the way he helmed that whole thing, it was really good.
100%. No, 100%. And he's from the Bay Area, which we're going to talk about a lot of people from the Bay Area because they're getting nominated for Oscars. So let us know what you guys think. Do you think that IMAX choosing Dune Part 3 to be in IMAX for the first 3 weeks will affect Avengers Doomsday at all? Or do you think that's just the way the cookie crumbles? Both these things are going to be bangers, and whatever format is in, I'm seeing both of them that weekend regardless.
What are you seeing first?
Below. What's up?
What are you seeing first? What are you seeing first on Doomsday?
Avengers for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts.